Hello and welcome to the brand new podcast, Titanic Legacy, a creative collaboration between the Titanic Book Club and Cove Pod, the Carganilla online variety entertainment podcast. This new show will explore Titanic's lasting impact with conversations with creators, authors, artists, historians, filmmakers, and more, who continue to produce creative work inspired by the Ship of Dreams. I'm your host, Paul Carganilla, and today I am joined by our guest, Ilka-Sophie Reinecke de Castro. I hope I said that right. A seamstress and collector who has done some incredible creative work inspired by Titanic. Thank you all for tuning in at home and welcoming us into your lives for the next half hour or so as we talk about Titanic and her long-lasting creative inspiration and impact. This is Titanic Legacy, the podcast. Thank you all so much for being here, and welcome, Ilka. Thank you for joining us from across the pond, as they say.
Hello. Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm honored.
And where exactly are you joining us from?
I'm in Germany, in my home from my little sewing room.
Little sewing room. So we're going to dig into that. As we were talking right before we started the broadcast, this is a new show in which we're talking to creators who are inspired by Titanic to continue to create. Where did your Titanic inspiration and journey begin?
Well, I did watch Titanic in cinema when it came out, and I was 14 years old. And I watched it 3 times because it really fascinated me, of course, and it made a lasting impact. And especially like the fashion of the era. I remember that I saw Kate in the jump dress, that one that I made there. And I really thought in that moment, and I vividly remember that, like, that is the most beautiful dress I ever saw. And Kate in it was like, wow, and she was so beautiful. So yeah, I kind of started wanting to know more and more about the fashion, about also the history of Titanic. And yeah, from there, I kind of went always researching. Like, it never really left me, but of course, at the time, I didn't have the money or the knowledge to make a dress like that. So 20 years later, things kind of changed.
So had you been interested at all in the historic aspect of it before the movie came out?
No, I saw the movie first. Of course, I knew about Titanic, like very few facts. Like, at the time, for me, it was a ship that sunk, and that was it. But
Sure.
after the movie, I really went to the libraries and I got all kinds of books I could find on Titanic. And I would also read everything about the history. But yeah, the movie was kind of pulling me in more and more. And I wanted to stay more with these characters and watch it again and again and again. And yeah.
And had you been interested in creating costumes, were you already headed down the path of becoming a seamstress or creating
No,
your own wardrobe? Really?
not at all. I mean, at the time when the movie came out, I was 14 years old and I
Right.
didn't have any money to do that and no knowledge. But when the Biltmore exhibit was happening, people at the time had really good cameras already. And the pictures that found their way online, actually, they were so good that you could really see every single beat on every dress. And the jump dress was with them, of course. And then I thought, well, if you don't try now, you never get better source material. And yeah, at the time, I myself said, I cannot sew. So how am I going to create this dress? And I thought, well, you can do some beadwork. I did some of that before, not at that scale, but I did some. So I thought, okay, if I could just bead the bodice, that would be cool too. And then I made like a pattern from paper, and I would put this newspaper on me again and again and again until I had something that seemed right. And then I started the beadwork. And while I was doing the beadwork, I actually met Dale from South Africa at the time, who was a bridal gown designer and also a Titanic. And he saw what I was doing and he said, look, I can help you. You can sew this dress. And I said, like, no, there's no chance at all that I can do this. And he said, yes, you can do it. I'm going to help you. I'm going to tell you what to do. You're still going to have to do it yourself, but I'm going to help you. And that's how we created that dress behind me in 211 days exactly.
Oh my goodness. And
Yeah.
I have to give a shout out to Alexandra Boyd, Nelson Aspen, and the Ship of Dreams film.
Yes.
You can hear this story. This is how did I get connected with Ilka? Well, I found out about Titanic Talk, the podcast. Everybody should check it out if you're a podcast listener. That is hosted by Alexandra Boyd and Nelson Aspen. Alexandra Boyd, of course, made this documentary about the actually filming background actors and actresses from the film and having them read their diaries from on set. And she also, throughout the film, explores Titanic's impact on pop culture still today. She has several Titanic enthusiasts interwoven throughout the film, and Ilka and Dale, as she just mentioned, are a couple of those characters in the documentary. But this is how I got connected. I reached out to her on Instagram and I said, I love your work, and Ilka was so kind to respond, and we kind of started chatting from there, started the conversation. But another big shout out to Alexandra and the Ship of Dreams film. They're actually screening across Canada in a few weeks, June 17th. They're doing screenings. If you are listening from Canada, you're around Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, Victoria, Halifax, Toronto, and Montreal, go to shipofdreamsfilm.com and find your tickets to screen this fantastic film. And speaking of, here are Dale, Alexandra, and Ilka. And what's happening here in this photo?
Well, that was actually the moment when Alexandra surprised me. Dale knew about this, that she would be there that day when we met in London, and we would go to the Royal Albert Hall to watch Titanic live. And yeah, suddenly she appeared there and surprised us, and we had a little interview and exchanged some hugs. And it was really nice to finally meet her in person because she's really great, and was very nice to connect on a personal level.
And was this photo here in the Royal Albert Hall?
Yes, that's me with Dale's miniature of the jump dress in our seats, waiting for Titanic Live to start.
Very cool. And it's behind you there in the room, but here is a photo for anyone who wants to see it in its entirety, in its majesty. And this took you how long to create?
211 days. I think these days I could probably do it quicker, but you have to remember that this was the very first thing I ever did so in my life. So the learning curve was very steep, and it took me a long time because I had to just learn how to do it while I was doing it. And then the next dresses went a bit quicker.
That's just incredible. And so you just completely go off of photos or
Yeah.
the movie, pause frame by frame?
Yeah, kinda. I mean, for the jump dress, I went mostly by the Build More pictures because they had a very good quality. But yeah, I basically just searched the internet a lot because you can still find pictures that you haven't seen before, not just from the outside, but also you have to remember how you need to learn how the dress, for example, is constructed from the inside. So dress construction is very important. It's not just about getting the look, but if you do the construction right, you're going to get the look automatically, and you're going to feel the weight of the beads pulling the fabric right in place. It just happens. And that's something that fascinates me. When I do it right, the dress behaves just like in the movie. And you can see this in a few little scenes when you're paying attention.
That's just so incredible. And so what do you do? May I ask what you do professionally now?
I am a physiotherapist. I work full time in a clinic, and I take care of people that are in need of help.
So amazing work that you do is all a hobby, totally a passion project.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
definitely.
incredible.
I
I'm
really do that for myself. Many people ask me if I wouldn't take commissions, but it's just not possible when you work full time. The time that a dress like that demands is just it's just not possible. I mean, the
Yeah.
jump dress, for example, has some 250 to 300 hours of beadwork in it. So that's a scale it's very difficult to do again, to motivate yourself. I'm going to do it again.
Yeah, I can imagine. My father-in-law does this amazing colored pencil work. He'll create something that looks like a photo, and it takes him like a year to do each one. And I
Yeah,
just can't.
crazy.
I'm blown away by just the attention to detail and the
Mhm.
patience you have to
Yeah,
do that sort
yeah.
of work. And I apologize. My neighbors are doing housework and their buzz saws right outside my window. So if you hear any of
That's
that,
all
I
right.
apologize. But I'm going to share some other photos that you shared with me in preparation for this conversation today. And you can just kind of tell us all what we're seeing here.
Yeah, that is actually one of the very first pictures I took when I was making the jump dress. In front of me, there's this gigantic beading frame that are the sleeves that I'm actually beading there with some embroidery stabilizer under it. And I had copied the detail picture by picture, bead by bead, and then I put the beads on.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy. Well, that is the flying purse replica that I made. I made that a few years ago. It's crochet work, some sewing involved, and I made that purse probably some 4 or 5 times for my friends and for myself. And I was able to hold the original 2 years ago, I think, and was able to compare, and it's very close. So I was really happy with the work that I was able to do there.
And so, how long does something like this take to make?
Well, the first time took longer than the other times when you have, like, I had to make my own pattern for those details, like those leaves, for example. It took me a long time to get it right. Um, I don't know. It's difficult to say because I do a little every day, but I would say the total probably some maybe 20 hours or so, not so long.
Fascinating. And for anybody listening to the audio podcast, you can find this video on the Titanic Book Club YouTube. And I have to give a shout out if you're listening, if you are just curious or you want to just have your mind blown by this work that she does, find her on Instagram. She's at Ilki1983. That's ILKI 1983. And her Instagram is an amazing follow. She's got a lot of these images that you see or that you're hearing about on display. And this is another dress from the film, correct?
Yeah, that is the deck dress. That one was actually not made by myself, but by Anna Prolom. She is from Ukraine, and I saw that she made that dress, and it was just so perfect. And I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna treat myself, and I'm gonna buy it from her. But I did find the belt buckle that I'm wearing there. It's identical to the one that was used in the movie. And my father and I actually made some woodwork to give a base to that buckle and make a belt for that. So that was also a nice thing to add to the dress that I actually bought.
Some nice father-daughter bonding there. That's very
Yeah.
cool.
That is the heaven gown necklace that I made. And I actually used some vintage necklaces that I found on Etsy, and I took them apart and I repurposed them to create this design of the heaven necklace for the heaven gown that I'm still working at the moment.
So you said it's not enough just to create dresses and purses.
No,
I'm
no.
going to start making I'm going to start making
Yeah.
jewelry too. Very cool.
Yeah, it's kind of my outlet, like being a bit creative. I just need that. Yeah, those are the jump dress earrings, and those were made by Lina. She has an amazing Etsy shop called Orsatis, and she recreates all of the Titanic jewelry in amazing detail. So if anyone would like to get some Titanic jewelry, I would definitely recommend buying from her. Very nice.
And there you are in the dress.
There I am in the dress. That was, I think, 4 years ago. And a friend of mine who's a photographer invited me to do a photo shoot with him with the jump dress and the dinner dress. And we actually rented a villa from the 1900s here in town for some 3 hours. And we did a photo shoot so I could finally wear my creations in full glory with shoes and everything. Yeah,
Wow.
that's also the dinner dress. Yeah.
Thankfully, those plates didn't meet the same fate as those on Titanic.
Yeah, I think they're still intact.
And so
Yeah,
is
this picture,
yeah,
that
it's
is
the
actually
robe.
from it's from the most recent photo shoot that I did with the same photographer. With my kimono that was also finally finished. I still added a few touches to the sleeves a while ago.
Mm,
And then I was ready to present that in a photo shoot, which was always something. I mean, the kimono, I always wanted to do that because it has this great effect when you spread the sleeves and it looks just amazing.
yeah.
So that was really cool. It was also very comfortable to wear. So I really liked that. It was
What a
lots of fun.
fantastic collection of amazing work you have.
Yeah, that's, for example, a work in progress. That's the heaven gown. It's a bit more advanced by now, but I'm still doing the beadwork. You can see that the last tiers of the dress are not embroidered yet. And that's hell of a work. And I'm trying to finish it, but it's very difficult time-wise. But I'm going by and by, and it's gonna be finished one day.
So neat.
Yeah, that one. My favorite prop that I own is the brooch that Rose wore with her dinner dress and also with the heaven gown. And I actually brought it here so you could see it live.
Oh,
Here it
wow.
is.
Wait.
Yeah.
So you're saying this is a prop that you own. So this is actually the
Yes.
one Kate wore in the film.
That's the one Kate wore for many hours, days, and weeks in the film. And it really came to me by a complete coincidence. I cannot explain how I found this. It's really a very crazy story.
That was going to be my next question. How did
Yeah,
you get that?
I a friend of mine asked me to help her find a mantle clock that would be similar to the one that we see in Rose's cabin
Okay.
over the fireplace. And since she knew that I was good at finding stuff, she asked my help. So I was browsing Google and then I saw a picture that was similar and I clicked on it and I landed on this page. And I was browsing it and I noticed, oh, they also have jewelry. And I was interested and I was browsing. And I could have stopped at any moment, but I didn't. And then I saw a picture. There were some 20 brooches in the picture. And in the middle was that brooch. And I was like, oh my God, this is identical because I was looking for one already since I was making the dress. And then I thought, but there are no prices here. Can't you buy this? And then I clicked on the main page and I read like prop rental, Farley props. And they had written like movies that we rented out, this, that, Titanic. And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, this is not just one brooch, that is the brooch. And it was horrible because I knew where it was and I didn't know if I could actually get it. And so I bought some Skype credits. I called there at the jewelry section of Farley Props, talked to a very nice guy, and I never mentioned Titanic at all. I told him that I was looking for a boat just like that and that I would like to buy it. And then he said, I haven't seen that one in forever. I don't know if we still have it, but I'm going to connect you with the director and you could talk to him. And then I exchanged emails with the director. And he said, that was on a Friday. He said, like, I'm going to check if we still have it. I'm going to tell you on Monday. And the whole weekend I was like, oh my God.
Torture.
Yeah. And then on Monday, the email really came and he said, look, we're usually not selling things. This is not what we do. Our business is renting out. But your email was so nice and I would like to help you. So I'm going to sell you this brooch. And yeah, obviously I bought it for a very good price. And it's been with me ever since. And it's my favorite thing. It's my little piece of Kate, my personal little piece of Kate. Yeah, that's crazy. So it
That
was
is
really a complete coincidence. And sometimes I'm thinking that items just come to us because they're supposed to be with you. I don't know.
I don't know. That's amazing. And I don't know if you've seen my little piece of Kate that my wife
I
actually got
did.
me for our
Yes,
anniversary.
I
But
did.
the wheel from the scene in the
Yeah,
jump dress, actually, my
very
wife
cool.
tracked it down and gifted it to me for our anniversary last year.
That's
Um,
very cool.
and I just love like all these stories of, growing up, just loving this film for what it is and seeing its impact on us and then being able to have a piece of it.
Yeah,
It's so neat. And you didn't stop there with the brooch, right? You found some more items to add to your
yeah.
collection. And let's see if I can
Well,
find some.
the thing is, I'm not a prop collector, and at some point, I think it actually started with shoes that I wanted to have the right shoes for the jump dress, and I started finding identical items, like
Right.
identical shoes, um, whatever, identical items. And I've been noticing an interesting shift in collecting because when I started finding items, people were kind of saying to me, but only the prop counts. Identical items are nothing, only the prop counts. The prop is a prop. And I was like, okay, but identical items are also cool. And in the past year or two, I'm noticing that collectors are presenting a lot of identical items too. And I think that is because props are just not attainable anymore. Like, even
Right.
if you can find them, they have prices that regular people cannot really afford anymore. So these days, identical items are not so uncool anymore, it seems. And I found that interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. As we saw with the recent Planet Hollywood auction, like, you can own a piece of
Yeah,
the movie. It'll just cost you like the
a
price of
million.
right, a
Yeah,
car, your dream car, or this
yeah,
piece from the film. Was
that is true.
the mirror here? Is that a prop or a replica?
No, it's not a prop. It's also an identical, and I brought it here for you.
Oh,
There it is.
there it is, right there, live and in
I
person.
actually, I actually do own the whole vanity set. It came as a set, and I found it a few years back. And the thing with identical items is these are actually historical, and they have their own story. So I think it's really cool that you can actually own something that someone used in, I don't know, 1890 or so. I find that super fascinating, and I love antiques. I love old sewing machines, and that for me is just also very nice to add to the collection.
Yeah, because when you think about it, when they're making the film, they're gathering items that were actually created for the purpose of being a mirror or a
Yes,
brooch, and they
yes.
weren't just like made in a silo in a vacuum. Like they produced
Hmm.
them, and so you can find actual pieces that were created, and just one of them happened to be used in the film.
Yeah.
What about this piece of jewelry?
Well, that one was also made by Lena that I already mentioned, and she made this beautiful bracelet that Rose wore with her dinner dress. And I think it's one of her most beautiful recreations. And this is also something you can actually wear in daily life. It's very beautiful, but not too much. So that is an item I really like to wear whenever I can. Yeah.
And there's an autograph with some of your beadwork.
Yes. There's an autograph, Kate Winslet's autograph. I by and by collected autographs as well. I have quite a few by now because friends also went to conventions and they brought some autographs for me. And I never met Kate personally, but I purchased this one. Also because it's on one of my favorite pictures and it has a little bit of jump dress in there. So I really wanted to have that one for my collection.
Very cool. And this has been blowing me away on your Instagram lately. This collection here. Tell us about this
Yeah.
collection.
Well, the photo frames are also a long story because as collectors over the years, we have been able to identify some of the frames that show Rose's special life moments. And I think it started with the frame with a horse when she rides on the beach. And I was also able to identify two of the frames not so long ago, also by complete coincidence, more or less. And some other collectors also identified a few. And when one of us finds them, the others know better how they look like, and then they can also find them. And then at some point, we all have that collection of photos.
I love it.
Yeah.
Is that a
Now
work in
those are
progress?
the
Oh,
yeah
right.
the sister dresses, as I
Mhm.
call them, heaven gown and dinner dress. And you can see that the dinner dress is fully embroidered. It was done at the time, and the heaven gown is still in progress, missing some embroidery, just a few meters.
Doing her beadwork there. Oh, yeah, the gloves.
The gloves were also very cool. At some point, I was able to identify the original maker of the dinner dress gloves, and they are made by Merola Gloves in Italy. And I sent them a message, and I wasn't realizing that, but I was actually talking to the owner, and he was super friendly with me. And then he offered that he could make identical gloves for me. So I ordered a pair of gloves and completed my outfit for the dinner dress with that, which was pretty cool.
In the live YouTube chat, Jill is asking, how many beads would do you know, or can you estimate how many beads are on each dress?
For that dress, I know that it's sequins. There are only a few beads in comparison, but the sequins are approximately 33,600 sequins.
Oh, just a
Yeah,
few. Just a few.
just a few. Yeah.
And the pink coat from, was this one of your creations or the J. Peterman?
That is at J. Peterman. I was very lucky to get my hands on. It was sold to me by a very good friend of mine, which is John White of White Star Memories. And I knew that they had this in their collection, and I had been asking a few times if they would ever sell that, and they always said no. But then at some point they did, and I have to say that they made it possible for me to acquire this piece. which also has a pretty cool little story to go with because this coat has been exhibited all over the world.
Right.
And when it was in the UK, back then, Prince Charles and Camilla actually looked at that coat, and there's a picture of them looking at the coat. So that was pretty cool to have as well. A little goodie to come with the coat.
Yeah, a piece of history. Oh, there
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. And that's why we also, for fun, we call it the royal coat.
Royalty
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
That's a very recent find. They have in gown shoes, and I actually have one here with me for you. So these are original Peter Fox shoes. They're absolutely stunning. And I have always been looking for these. It took me 6 years of obsession to find them. I was checking all kinds of marketplaces almost every single day to find these. And then I was able to find them for really little money compared to what is usually asked for these shoes. So I snatched them in a few seconds, literally, when I saw them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool find and amazing addition to your collection. And I got a couple more photos to show before I just touch on the amazing community, as you've already mentioned a
Mm-hmm.
few times. But what are we looking at here?
This is a Polaroid that was auctioned a while ago. Those are continuity Polaroids that were in the possession of Greg Canham. And they were auctioned a while ago, and I was like super lucky to win one of them because I found it really cool. Like the frozen makeup looks really cool, and I didn't think I would win one. And the auction was so fast, and then it went green and said you won, and I was like, oh my god, what? I actually won it. So yeah, I have that framed in some special frames so it wouldn't bleach out over the years if you have it in a frame.
Right.
And that's the Polaroid.
That is a super cool piece to have because, as everybody knows, Polaroids, they don't come from a negative. You get one
Yeah,
shot. And so this
yeah,
photo was taken of Kate when they were filming the movie. That is really, really a cool treasure to have. And
yeah.
great.
I find it really cool because it was made in her presence in that moment, and that is the original, and you have it. So it's kind of nice. Yeah.
Absolutely. That is so cool. And is this a Ilka creation or an
Yes,
acquisition? Oh,
that is the second dress that I made. That is the flying gown. And I wanted like the thing was I never set out to make the whole wardrobe or anything, but when I was done with the jump dress, there were already quite a few people following my work, and everyone was asking like, "What are you gonna do now?" And I thought like, yeah, like what am I gonna do now? This was so cool. I kind of want to do more.
yeah.
And then I had this thought, I'm gonna do a dress that is only sewing. But I have to say that every dress has its little difficulties, and the construction is always very elaborate. So there is not really an easy dress. But at the time, I thought it would be easy, but the dress taught me differently very quickly.
So neat. It's like I say when I came from an independent filmmaking background, and every project that I made was like a learning experience, like a different year of
Hmm.
school. I didn't go to film school, but everything I was working on was like its own kind of film school, private film school, if you will. Like it started with music videos and web series, then short films, and you just keep building and your skills and doing,
Hmm.
following your heart, doing what you love along the way. Uh, I'm so impressed. What and is this the
Yeah,
umbrella?
yeah. You're speaking of skills, and most of my projects also taught me some kind of new skill, like woodwork. For this piece, for example, I found an antique umbrella from around 1890 that had the perfect shape to recreate Rose's parasol. And a friend of mine, Ashley from the United States, she had actually designed that fabric, and she would give it to me, and I had it printed. And then I did woodwork on the handle because it was in really bad shape, and I completely restored it and put the new fabric on. I made the tassels and everything, and it's one of my favorite projects so far.
Unbelievable. From dressmaking to jewelry making to woodwork, your
It's a bit
skills
crazy,
know
yeah.
no bounds here. And the last photo I have to share.
Yeah, that is the tea gown. That's the other dress behind me. That is one of the most elaborate dresses I made because of all the different kinds of laces that went on there. And I actually had to make my own lace from other laces before I could use them on my dress to achieve this very characteristic look. And but it was a very nice project. It was kind of relaxed going, and I really enjoyed making the belt because I never made a belt before, and it was a bit of trial and error. But I made that belt in one day, and it just worked. So that was really cool and very enjoyable.
Incredible. Well, I'm just blown away by all of your skills, and thank you for taking the time to share your story and your work with us. For anybody out there, again, this has been a very visual episode. So if you want to see the work, head over to Ilka's Instagram at ILKI1983, Ilki1983, and or find this video on the Titanic Book Club YouTube channel. Thank you. I want to thank you so much, Ilka, for sharing this with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really enjoyed it a lot. Thank you.
And I want to say thank you to Jill Carlier and the Titanic Book Club. Be sure you are subscribed to the Titanic Book Club on YouTube. I want to give a shout out to our friend Ellen Moore O'Brien. Happy birthday. It is her birthday the day we're recording this. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe, rate, leave a positive review on your favorite podcast platform. And if you love conversations with inspirational creators, you can find many more on my personal podcast, Cove Pod. Click over and give that a listen. I want to say thank you one more time to our guest, Ilka-Sophie Reinecke de Castro. Be sure to find her on Instagram, as I mentioned. Thank you all for tuning in. And until the next episode, seize the day, follow your heart's fire, and make each day count. Bye, everyone.